Hey guys, it's Ariel. So it's been a long time since I filmed just a sit-down video, but I've really been thinking about filming one for the last couple weeks, and I'm home by myself at the second, so it kind of just made sense. Also, I just realized, I said the last couple of weeks. It was actually within the last week. Um, but you can see by the title of the video down there is I want to talk about how I got into photography and everything like that. That could also go along with the music journalism, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, for about I say between 6 and 7 years. It's questionable. I had my own music website called Immortal Music. It is still active, and I would like to get it back up on the ground, but life gets in the way and stuff. So I have not been posting on there very much at all, pretty much for the last year, which is fine. I still get emails about press stuff, and I can always get back into it once I find the time. It's just I've started working a shit ton more, and I don't know, the motivation kind of just disappeared. That's a whole other video though. The reason why I actually wanted to make this video was because of a girl that I realized I do not know her name at all. I know her by her Instagram name, which is Painful Universe. I met her at Fort Rock, actually. I think the first time I ran into her was Fort Rock 2015. She was on the barricade, and we just sort of started talking, and she asked me for a picture, like to take one with her just because she felt like it, and I didn't know why she wanted it, but it was like the coolest thing to me, so I instantly was like, hell yeah, let's do it. Took a picture with her. Saw her again at 2016, same thing, and that time I think I asked her because she made me feel really cool, and I loved the fact that she was there again. So I was like, yes, absolutely. Saw her again last year, same thing. And I was just like, this girl was so cool, and it was like, she made me feel famous when I'm not famous at all. And she's always stuck with me. And honey, if you see this video, please DM me on Instagram. You've already talked to me through there. That's how this video became a thing. I would like to know your name, because I just think I should know your name, not just your Instagram. Anyway, she IM'd me one day last week and asked me how I got into photography, because she's interested and wanted to know everything about it, like how, the ins and outs, and like if it's actually worth it or if it's fun and all that stuff. And it got me thinking that I really have never talked about it too much on the internet at all, of how I got into it or the ins and outs or anything. And for a long time I was a little skeptical, I guess I should say. Maybe cynical is the word. I'm not sure what the word is, of posting anything about that on the internet, because for some reason, for a little while, I kind of felt like if I was sharing how I did it, people would either judge me because I know it wasn't the most professional tactic, or they would like take my success and then just like hoard it for themselves and somehow get off of that. I don't know where that comes from, because I think that was just paranoia. But so for a long time I didn't want to talk about the journalism. I didn't want to talk about anything that's behind the scenes. I just wanted people to follow what I did, and if they wanted to do it for themselves, I kind of just told people figure it out, which I don't know, now seeing it as a former thing more so, I feel like I need to share the ins and outs, because it looks like such this amazing, incredible life, and it's not really. It's actually quite stressful, and at least in my experience, it's very unrewarding. And let me see if I can pull up our actual conversation here. I probably can, because like I said, we were DMing on Instagram one day last week about it. There it is. Okay. I'm just gonna go through that, and then like she asked, if it's fun, if we got into payment or anything, and I will say this, it is fun. In the moment, or looking back at it, oh my god, yes. Like, honestly, I am not one to brag or anything. I will say I'm a very good photographer. Like, that is one thing I actually take pride in, is I will say I am a damn good photographer. And, I'm kind of like, I feel like I'm beating around the bush a little bit, but there's a lot to talk about with it, so bear with me. I'm sure this is going to be a long video, but if you guys have been watching my channel for a while, you know every video of mine is very long, even when I say it's going to be short. But yes, it is 100%, it is so much fun, and I have had so many experiences in front of that barricade that I don't have on video. I probably have never even talked about it because it's like you only get to cover the first 3 songs of every set. That's it. Anybody that's been on the barricade watching the show has probably noticed that. You only get to do the first 3 songs, which is usually between 10 and 15 minutes, maybe 20, because you are allowed to stay up there if they like stall in between songs. And you can get so many crazy pictures or insanely good. Sometimes they just look fucking weird. I have a picture of Dave Mustaine where he looks legitimately like Donald Trump with better hair. And it's the funniest picture to me. It's a terrible picture of him, it really is. But it was so perfectly clear that I love it. It is honestly one of my favorite pictures. And I'm not a big fan of Megadeth. I just covered it because I was like, well, now I can say I've covered Megadeth. Why the fuck not? But yes, it is fun, and if you want to get into it just for that, absolutely. I recommend trying to do it. However, at least in my experience, you do not get paid. I have never once gotten paid for anything I've done. And that includes the 6 to 7 years of reviews, news, you name it, like promotion for bands. I've never once been paid. Other people have different experiences with that, so there is some way to do it. However, I have never broken into it. Like, I think it's usually if you get in and you're working for somebody else, but if you're trying to do it for yourself, I'm not entirely certain how you're going to actually sell your pictures. Like, unless you sell prints or something, which you actually have contracts with, I think pretty much every show has always had a thing of don't sell the pictures, blah, 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 blah. You know, like, it's not supposed to be like that. It's supposed to be a press sort of thing. And, so there was that, but, trying to think of how to go about this. You have to get a PhotoPass, and the big thing, and this is actually a pet peeve of mine too, is you have to have an actual camera. It doesn't have to be a high-end camera. It literally, my first one was some tiny hot pink piece of shit from Walmart. That was what I covered many shows with, did my first few interviews with. Like, I didn't get a decent camera, I would say, until I think I'd been doing it already like 2 years at that point before that one crapped out on me and I got a new one. And then this camera I use now to film my interviews. I've been through several cameras over the years, and I still have not gotten to how I covered my first show in this whole video. So I will have to explain that one. That was, I've talked about the show before. It was November 18th, 2011. It was Mayday Parade at Revolution Live in Fort Lauderdale. I had never heard of a PhotoPass. Never. I had an interview with Mayday Parade, and it was my very first, like, big interview. I was very fortunate with the person that was talking with me. I've always said it was a female, but it might have actually been a guy. Their name was Jamie at the time. They do not have the same press person, so it's okay to say that. He or she was very, very nice when they realized, when they sent me the interview, the okay for the interview, they asked me to go ahead and send my questions, and I'm like, okay, but why? I'm like, did they need time to think about it? Like, what's going on with that? They were aware that this was my first interview, so they knew that I was winging it, and I had no clue what I was doing, and I was only 18 at the time. And, they were, like, really nice about it, and they explained, no, I'm so sorry, I thought you realized that I meant over email, not in person, but how about this? I will give you a PhotoPass and a meet and greet thing for you and a friend and the tickets to the show. So you're so more than welcome to come and enjoy everything. How about that? And of course, I was like, absolutely, I get to meet Mayday Parade and I get to go see them. Hell yeah, I'm all for that, because I had never seen them before, and at the time they were like one of my absolute favorite bands. But I didn't want to admit that I had no idea what the hell a PhotoPass was. So I go down there and get this little pass. I have it somewhere, but I'm not gonna get up and go find it, because while I know where it is, I just don't feel like getting up. But she gives me this little, it's a sticker, it's just a little pass thing, and she gives me that, and then I was just like, what am I supposed to do with this? And it only had Mayday Parade's name on it, so I actually thought, okay, I'm only allowed in front of the barricade to take pictures of them, because I did understand that much of it. Was obviously I was allowed up there to take pictures, because I had been on the barricade before. I had seen press, so I did have some clue. I wasn't going in entirely blind. But So all of a sudden, like, I'm watching, they were there with, let's see, it was There for Tomorrow, You Me at 6, and We Are the In Crowd. I think in that order. I could be wrong about that. So, along with a local band that I don't remember their name. I think it was called The Make. Um, but all of a sudden, I think it was during You Me at 6. Like, I did not get to cover very much of this because I did not realize I could do this. Um, if you get a pass, most of the time, unless it's otherwise specified, you can cover all the bands. It does happen, mostly with festivals, I've noticed, where some bands will have certain things where you can't, or you just have to get an extra wristband, whatever. I have had experiences with that where I have not gotten, and I also have experiences where I have. Um, so you just, like, when you get your contracts, read it, you'll find out what's allowed and what's not. But during You Me at 6, I saw a girl come out of the pit. Not the press area, like, they call it the press pit, which is the area between the stage and the barricade, but, like, the whole floor where the whole crowd was. I saw her come out of there, and I noticed around her neck was a lanyard that had the same pass, like, in a little, like, ID card thingy. And it says, I realized she'd been down there. I wanted to know why and how she was allowed down there, so I walked up to her, and obviously my pass was on me, and I asked her how she was allowed down there. And she was like, well, you've got it too. Why weren't you down there? And I'm like, huh? I'm like, I thought it was only for Mayday Parade. And she was like, no. She goes, it's for the whole show. God, you've missed so much. She goes, you better be down there for the next one, which was We Are the In Crowd. So I was like, oh, okay, absolutely. And I don't actually think I got that many good pictures because, like I said, I was using a hot pink piece of shit. But, like, it was such a cool experience because being in front of that barricade, it's like a whole other world because you get to enjoy things so up close, and I'll admit you'll fully miss things that are going on just because you're focused. And I don't know, like, I can't explain the vibe because it's different from being just on the barricade. I think it's because literally I have taken pictures, so many pictures actually, just leaning on the stage. I have had I've nearly had my camera kicked before because I got too close. Like, all sorts of things. Like, I've even gotten to meet somebody because they decided to meet the press. That was a cool experience. That was Fort Rock 2016. Brent Smith is Shinedown. Anybody that has seen Shinedown probably is already aware of this. Every show, he has everybody introduce themselves to those around him just because he wants to get the camaraderie going on. And for some reason, he decided he wanted to do it on the second song of their set. I don't remember what song it was, so don't ask me. That's something else I've noticed. I tend to forget whatever the hell bands were playing, especially if I'm already in front of the barricade. Like, every now and then I'll remember, and usually I'm singing along while I'm doing it. A lot of the press actually do. But I don't know, like, I can't ever tell you, and I don't know what they were playing, but I noticed Brent was, like, crouched down. I didn't think anything of it. I was so focused on trying to get the jumping beam that is Zach Myers, their guitarist, that it didn't even register to turn and look and see what was going on with Brent. Now keep in mind, Shinedown is one of my absolute favorite bands. I absolutely adore Shinedown with all my heart. Like, that's a whole other video too, probably. But it was like, it just didn't register. And I look over and Brent has this look at his face like, what the fuck is going on? Like, he was so confused. And I look over then and he noticed that I looked and he still has this look on his face. And I was, for some reason, I went, what do you want? And he just goes, come here. And I'm like, oh, okay, he wants to meet everybody. That got all the others' attention as well. And then everybody came over. And it's so funny to me because that is what happens when you get 20 photographers in their element and a singer that is not. Like, the interactions are pretty much zero most of the time, although some are good at, like, playing with the cameras and, like, looking at them. Corey Taylor's actually very good at that. Like, I don't know, there's so many experiences that it's like, I don't even think to share because they're so fast-paced, I think is the word I'm going to go with. Because, you know, all festivals, all concerts are a little crazy, especially if you like all the bands or whatever. It is 10 times crazier when you are press as well, because you have to be all the way up here, and then you have to go find your friends, and then you have to go all the way back, and then it's like an ongoing thing, and God forbid if you have interviews, you have to go find them, and usually something gets fucked up. It's a little stressful. Well, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I'm not saying it's like a bad kind of stress, but in the moment, it's stressful. It really is. It's another job, just like anything else. Like, there's good and bad. Like, you know how it's like, if you're at a job and it's super fucking busy, you can be finding yourself overwhelmed and just getting kind of frustrated, even if you like your job. It's just like that. I told her, the Painful Universe, that there has not been a single festival I've been to where I have not cried. And I always end up saying they're good experiences, not always. There's been one festival that I went to that was a horrible experience. But every other one, I could leave saying, oh my god, it was such a good day, even though I definitely cried at least once during that day. And it was not happy tears. Like, every time it was out of frustration. Like, I can tell you so many times where I found myself going, why the fuck do I do this? Which I guess that, like I said, it's like any other job with that. It does get frustrating and stressful. I just tried to mix those two words together. But it is very rewarding when you can look at your own pictures and be like, oh my god, because every picture is worth 1,000 words. I know that's like a cliche or something to say, but it's true. Like, I have so many pictures. Like, every single show, I have this tendency to take between, the lowest I think was like 300. I've taken up to 3,000 pictures, I think, in a day. And I print out my favorites, and I just have like a collage. I'm pointing up there. You might be able to see a little bit of it. Yeah. See all those up there? Those are all pictures I've taken. And there's so many more that I just haven't printed out. Those are primarily from Fort Rock 2015, 2016. Fort Rock 2015, 2016, but 2016 was 2 days, along with Hard Rock. That was for Caesar and Papa Roach. There's so many up there, and then like I said, there's so many others. My whole hallway is full of pictures I've taken over the years. Like, I've got some of my from my first show covered there in the hallway. But yeah, it's like, it is rewarding, and I'm sure there is some ways to get paid, but I will say, I have heard this from other photographers that have gotten paid, it is not something you can make a living off of unless you get into like Rolling Stone or something. Like, I'm not even going to say alternative press, because I'm pretty sure those are still freelancing, where it's, you know, you might get, I don't even know, I was going to say $20 if you get your picture printed, but I bet it's not even $20. It's probably more like $5 or something. I have no idea. Like, it's not something rewarding in that stance. It's rewarding in a personal sort of stance. Like, the fact that you get into shows for free, like, that's great. It really is. But the amount of stuff you have to do to get to that free show, you probably could have just bought the ticket. And it would have been a totally different experience. And I'll admit, I actually have not been to a show just for fun in 4 years. The last one was literally 3 Days Grace and Shinedown when they were at Germain Arena, which is a local venue, well, sort of local venue that isn't really that active anymore. And even then, I actually could have had a pass, but I turned it down because of, I don't remember what reason. There was some reason I turned it down, but like, every single show, I usually go with a purpose. Like, if I can't get a pass, I quit trying to go. And that kind of started killing my love of music a little bit. And like I said, everyone has different experiences, so it might not be that way for you. I think I don't know how to do things half-assed. I don't know how to do things as a hobby, and that was something that really bothered me, was when people would take what I did and say it was a hobby, when it was like, I would spend so many hours doing this thing. Like, I worked with a friend of mine, Cassidy, you guys have met her, to get a pass for a show all the way across the country. We busted our asses for like 3 months straight. And we did get it. We didn't get to go because of life shit. But, we busted our asses and got, I think it was 130 album reviews up between just the two of us. And I did the same thing again for Fort Rock 2016. And I kind of like kept doing that. Like after, honestly, it was after Fort Rock 2016 when I completely did all of that. And I remember that I didn't have that much help with that one because Cassidy was very busy. It just didn't work that way. I posted, I think it was 123 album reviews, 24 biographies, maybe it was 22, I don't remember, and like a shit ton of news things, all by myself, on top of working, on top of God knows what. I kind of just hit a burnout. And I still love the photography. I've actually started getting more into photography outside of concerts, because that was the other thing, is like, I used to carry the little hot pink piece of shit around when I was just like hanging out with friends or whatever, and I'd got so many pictures that it's like I don't even remember why I took the pictures, but they're fun to look back on. It was like, oh yeah, I used to hang out with all these people, they were so cool, those were good, like, relaxed times. And now I have a better camera. I'm actually looking at it right now. This is the Canon Rebel T6. I'm still learning to use it. It is the nicest camera I've ever had. And if you're wondering what all cameras I've been through, let's see, there was the unknown brand hot pink one, a Fujifilm that I don't remember all the specs for. If I think about it, I will try to do some research and put it in the description box. No promises on that. The Nikon Coolpix with the little one, which is, I'm reading the specs on it right now because for some reason I left a sticker on it. It says it was the 20.1 megapixels. It's the one with the 3-inch screen. I also had two different versions of the big camera of this. There was the Nikon Coolpix, I don't remember the specs. There was one that I got it used from somebody in 2014, and she had had it, I think, a year or two. Like, it was pretty decent, but it had a little bit of a delay. But she had had some massive issues with it, replaced it, and then it started working again, so she sold it to me and did warn me about the delay. I didn't really notice the delay until I got the newer version of that, which I, again, don't remember all the details for that, but it was the newer version of Nikon Coolpix. In fact, that's probably the one that's still, like, the most modern, because I got that in summer 2015, and it got wet at last year's Fort Rock, and it got completely destroyed. No fault to my own, I will add. But, so that was a pretty decent camera. Honestly, I was very proud of that camera. Now I'm on to the Canon Rebel, which, honestly, I'm obsessed with my camera. I am still learning how to work it. Like I said, I'm not able to get it to work at night just yet because I'm still learning how to work with the aperture and everything. Because in one of my other cameras, I messed with that. Like, I do think the Nikon Coolpix had the option. I just never touched it. And I never really had a problem with it except for indoors every now and then. But that, I feel like, is normal. I was talking about that with some other photographers at Fort Rock, actually. And I know I keep talking about Fort Rock. It's because those are, like, the local ones that are, like, the most relevant to me. And they're the primary festivals I've covered. That's the only festival I've covered 3 times straight. Well, 4. I've covered it 4 times. I've only actually missed 2. The one that just passed, that they moved to Fort Lauderdale, and 2014, I believe it was. I have people texting me and I got distracted. I don't know, I think I've covered most of it. So yes, it is rewarding, just to recap. But fair warning, it is not all fun and games. And, like, I don't know. And it opens a lot of doors, I'd say. Because like I said, I'm getting into taking pictures of other things. Like, if you follow me on Instagram, it's just at Immortal Music. You'll see that I've started taking pictures of, like, flowers and stuff. Most of that was from the Epcot Flower and Garden Festival, but I had so much fun doing that. My allergies were going bananas, but I loved the pictures that came out of that, including especially this one pink one that I did already post on my Instagram. I am obsessed with it, and it's like, I'm having so much fun exploring with it, and like, I went downtown the other day and took some pictures of a friend of mine, and was just trying to practice with it, and I got some pretty cool shots. I wouldn't say they are up to the quality I would like them to be, but like I said, I'm still learning, and I think you're always learning. Like, even the highest professionals still have something they could learn. So I'm not upset about the fact that, well, that one kind of sucked, but this one's great. Or I know how to do these kind of pictures, but I don't know how to do this. Like, all that's really cool. And the other thing I take pride in is I have never edited a single picture in my life. Maybe I shouldn't take pride in that, but the fact that I have pictures that'll look damn fucking good, and yet there's no editing to it, to me, I am proud of that. More power to you if you can edit. That's actually a great skill to have. It really is. Especially because if you get something where it's like, oh, the lighting's not quite right, but it's a good picture, you can fix that. And I like that. So I do plan on learning. I just haven't quite gotten around to it yet. I have Photoshop and everything. I just need to play with it properly. So yeah, if you have any more questions or anything, feel free to ask me. Thank you for inspiring this video, by the way. I actually really have wanted to make videos again and just haven't quite found the motivation to do so. Maybe I'll go ahead and start telling some more of the stories that I haven't told, because like that thing I said with Brent Smith, that's one of my favorite things. And I have so many other stories that it's like I never shared because they seemed unprofessional. So like I was so scared of like people taking me not seriously, where I just stopped. And like, I never told the stories that were, like, bad, but yet one of my mom's and my favorite stories is actually so unprofessional, but it's fucking hilarious. And there's nothing wrong with it. I just thought it was bad to share. So, stay tuned. I'll probably start telling you guys stories. I don't know what else to say. Like I said, if you have any questions, video suggestions, whatever, feel free to leave them in the comments. I really am enjoying this idea, so, yeah, I'll talk to you guys later. Follow me on Instagram. Go ahead and follow Painful Universe. I cannot talk as well. Thank you again, and have a good day. Bye-bye.